VO in Stereo is sponsored by Bodalgo, international voice acting platform.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to VO in Stereo. I say it a lot, and usually I guess I mean it. Special day. Today is beyond all of that. I'll just start with just the little stuff. Over 100 TV shows, over 50 films. This man is a living legend. I can't even believe he's here wasting his time with me and Steven. But please help me welcome Larry Hankin.
Woo! Yeah.
Thank you so much. I cannot express to you how much this means to me, and I'm kind of fanboying out a little bit. I won't let that.
Oh, okay, cool. No, that's great. That's great. It's fine.
Time for me. Steven, man, kick us off. Whatever you got.
I'm very excited. Thank you for being on. Appreciate you taking the time to be here, Larry.
Well, show business is my life. So podcasts is part of show business, man.
This is why
I'm here, ready to go.
You're here, sir.
Yeah.
But welcome. My first question, which is my first question to everybody, is where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Where am I from? Far Rockaway, Long Island. A great place to. I gotta move this chair. A great place to grow up, actually. Near the beach. It is on the East Coast. And I had a terrible childhood. I mean, in the house, a terrible parental growing up. But the outside, once I got outside the house, I was okay. But the growing up part, was. But I love Far Rockaway, and I went to Far Rockaway High, and that was really great. I was in show business then, in all the plays, and. I won funniest guy in high school 2 years in a row.
Now that's quite unheard of now.
Yeah, that is
champion.
Yeah, I don't even think they have those contests anymore. But yeah, at the time I didn't realize how cool it was until I grew up and looked back and I thought, wow, man, that's so cool. That's great.
Were you involved in the arts and stuff like that in school, in high school?
There was only two things I did. I was in the any play, like Dear Ruth, those old old plays. So I was in Dear Ruth, and I always had the funny part. So acting, and I joined the poetry club. Now here's why. I thought I checked it out first because I wanted to, be popular. Get in with the gang. I was very shy, so I needed to push myself. So the only club I could think of was maybe the poetry club, because I noticed in my research that there were only girls in that. It was strange, but I guess not strange at all in high school. So I thought, okay, if I join the poetry club, I can get dates. So that's what I did. I joined, and they met once a week. And actually, I didn't get any dates at all. So you'd think it was a waste. However, and I had to sit there through poetry, trying to score. And you would think it would be a waste of time. I thought it was a waste of time. But here's the catch. Years later, when I was in, I joined the committee, or I was a stand-up comedian, all that poetry, man, was in there, and it was kind of readily available. So as I grew older, I knew all the poems that smart people knew, that critical thinkers knew, and I didn't realize that it was because of the poetry club that all that stuff went in. I actually was listening, or my subconscious was listening, whatever it was. But it was a great reward much later in life. So that was the payoff. But I didn't score in the poetry club.
Well, you know, it was a good plan.
It was a plan. It was a plan.
It was a plan. You know, I would have followed that same kind of thinking too.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't hurt when I joined chorus and I found out it was 60 girls to every guy, and there was 3 other guys. I was like,
oh, right. Yeah. There you go.
La 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 la, whatever the hell you
like,
want.
I found home.
Exactly.
I am home.
I guess my show business thing, though, was started in high school because there was one performance that was mine that I did that kind of worked. During lunch, you could, there was the cafeteria, but you could also go out on the baseball field in the bleachers, and you could eat your lunch there and talk to your friends and do your homework, whatever you wanted. There, like it was 1 hour, I guess, for lunch. So what I would do is, now the baseball field was it was empty. I mean, there's no baseball going on during school hours. So I would go out during my lunch hour and when everybody else's lunch hour was, and the kids were in the stand, and I would get on the pitcher's mound, and I would mime an entire baseball game for the hour. From the pitcher's mound, I would pitch balls. There would be high flies. I would catch one. I would throw the guy out at first. There was a grounder. It was just really great. It was very exciting.
That's your first one-man show. I love it.
Yeah, it was my first one, and it worked, man. That worked. That's why I won. The 2 years.
Who's on first? I'm everywhere, you son of a.
Yeah, I mean, there was nobody out there, but I would mime, catching it and going, throwing in grounders, and also pitching them out. The pitcher would get out of the box, and I would just pitch over here. The guy would walk.
Over the plate.
I did the whole thing.
That's awesome. That's
so I liked that part, as you can tell. That was cool. So that was kind of my childhood. I mean, high school anyway.
Neat. Did
so,
you
a great introvert? You like really couldn't put yourself
Well,
out.
I got to push it out. Somebody described me as an introverted extrovert.
Right.
So, I mean, that somebody said that to me. I thought, okay, yeah, but that was true. In other words, if I got on a stage, I was cool. But once I got off the stage, I didn't have any personality. I didn't know, what to do.
Now,
but once I got out there, boom, suddenly, oh, Larry can do that. Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Or I could do that. I mean, I didn't even know.
But let me ask you a question. So when you got off, you would perform and you get off. Did you want to recede into yourself and kind of want to be alone? Or did you still want to kind of hang out?
I would try to make friends. In other words, the friends I had were the friends on my block. I mean, that's how you made friends in those days. I live in LA. I don't know how it is in the suburbs or in the middle of the country or anywhere else. But when I was a kid, you made friends with the, next door neighbor on both sides. I had, and then 2 doors down, and the block bully was on my block. And he lived 5 houses away. So I was a convenient guy to beat up. I was right there. If he wanted to beat somebody up, you just wait until Larry came out of his house. And he would beat me up. Wow, I got a frog in my throat.
Yeah, we're choking you up, man. I'm sorry.
But anyway, I was kind of shy. In public school, it was a whole different thing. In public school, I really was out of it. The only people I hung out with, as I recall, were weirdos. I mean, now they're called weirdos. Then they were just people you didn't talk to or made fun of. So I just hung out with that crowd because they didn't make fun of me and I didn't make fun of them. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
But there was no show business or anything like that. It's very interesting now that because generally people ask me about show business, but before that, like now the memories come back that I was a pyromaniac when I was a kid in public school. I burned down billboards. I burned down a barn. I mean, I was into it. I mean, I was a serious guy. And the barn happened to be, weirdly, that I set on fire and burned down right across the street from me. And I wasn't caught. It's really weird. I was about, I guess, 14.
Statute of limitations. Not worth it right now. Don't even try. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool.
You can't do anything. Just relax.
Yeah, you just guys, you open me up. You got to be careful here.
Oh, that's
But,
okay. I want to
yeah.
open you up and give you a big soul hug. I love the Larry. Just, gonna give me some.
But yeah, I burned down a billboard. Oh, and here's where I found out that my mom really did love me. This is really cool. I burned down a billboard. So this is in New Jersey, no, in Far Rockaway. But there was a billboard in a lot,
Was
in
it
an empty
something
lot,
that you didn't
a
like?
big, huge billboard. What?
Was it something that you didn't like?
No, I just liked I liked fire.
Okay.
I mean,
just
even
curious
if you
there
lit a
was,
match, I was there.
I don't know. Maybe it was like a commercial you didn't like, or somebody's face,
Hands
and you're
for
like,
his
I have to
television.
burn this.
No, it was my parents. I mean, later on I found out. No, I was
Right.
full of anger, man.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So I burned down the this billboard, and what I did was I just liked fire. I didn't like big fires, but the fires that burned down things actually got out of hand. In other words, I didn't burn down the barn because I wanted to burn down the barn and see a fire.
Right.
What I wanted to do was this particular barn. It was an old barn that had been abandoned and in a lot for the years that I lived there. But for some strange reason, it didn't have clapboards or boards. It had shingles, old, worn, it would have caved in a couple of years, I guess. But they had shingles. So I just wanted to see if these wooden shingles that were so old and weather worn, if they would burn. If, that was the experiment. The experiment was, would old weather worn shingles burn? So I just took a piece of paper, and I just held it under one shingle. Here's this whole thing. And I held it under one shingle. For you kids who want to be firebugs, this is how you do it. You hold, and I let one shingle burn. But now here's the weird thing I discovered that nobody knew, at least I didn't, that when you do that, the shingle doesn't burn on the outside. It burns on the inside. So it wasn't burning. And then all of a sudden I saw smoke coming up from a shingle up here. So, and then I suddenly looked and, oh my God, it's burning inside. And by then 5 or 6 shingles on the inside were burning, and I tried to put it out, but I couldn't. So I just walked over to my house, which is directly across the street from this empty lot with this barn. And I just sat there and just watched it. Mm-hmm. And
it's all the time.
Finally, as the blaze, then the wall started. That side of the wall went up, and by then the neighbors had called the fire department.
It was the most beautiful thing we have ever seen before.
Yeah. Oh, so that was the big one. The other thing with the billboard, that was what I meant to tell you. Again, I just set the grass on. I had 3 or 4 friends. See, that was the thing. There was always a friend who said, let's put it out now. And for the barn, I was the only one there. So I had nobody to say, let's put it out now. So that's why it got out of hand. So the billboard, we just went behind the billboard, bunch of friends. We had some gasoline, just to make sure it caught. So we just spread some gasoline on the grass behind the billboard. And then we dropped the match in it, and there was a nice circle of fire, and that was really cool. And I just said, fire. And I said, by the way, this was in New Jersey. And so there's this big, long lot. This was not near anybody's house at all. This was just a field, a billboard. And then the wind shifted and blew it towards the back of the billboard. And that's when somebody said, okay, we got to put it out now. And too late, the wind picked up. And so the billboard caught on fire. So we all ran. That's what you do, man. You run. So I think I was like 8 or 9 at this time. So it was kind of cool. Okay, so I ran home. Okay.
Did they pick you up and take you directly to TV and film? They were like, here's a star. He's on fire. We must take him now.
No, this is the one where I found out my mother truly loved me, because I ran to my home and I just stayed in the house. I didn't say anything. I was, Mom, I went into my room And about a half hour, and I heard fire engines. I mean, the billboard wasn't that far away from my house. It was about 2 or 3 blocks away. Then there's this huge lot field. I heard fire engines, so I knew, okay, if they're putting it out now, so I'm not going out of the house. I stayed in my room. And then there was a knock on the door. And so I came out and I hid behind the couch because I didn't know. I thought there was the cops. That's what I thought. I thought, okay, I'm busted, man. Somebody saw us. And then my mom opened the door and there was a fireman and he just smelled the smoke. He had the whole outfit on, the hat and the raincoat, the yellow and the thing. And he had been busy putting out a fire. You could just look at him and know, wow, this guy's at work. And he just knocked on my door. So I heard what went on and he said, do you have a son? And my mom said, yeah. No, she said, yeah. And she said, where was he for the last 2 hours? And she said, he was with me.
Oh.
And he said, oh, okay, thank you. And he left. And Mom loves me.
Mom loves me.
Mom loves me. She lied to a fireman.
Oh, man.
It's like lying to a policeman. That's
policeman's not so
incredible.
bad. Fireman's pretty bad. Policeman's like, did you see which way he went? No. Fireman, you know where the fire building on? No. The building burns down. Much worse than the guy getting away, I think. I don't know.
Well, I was very honored that my mom had lied to a fireman. And I just, it carried me for years.
Love mom.
The love of your mom. It's just,
Right.
I think it's okay for moms to lie to firemen for a child, for her own child.
I think so.
To become an accomplice in your shenanigans, love it.
Say that again, the first part?
I said, to have your mom part of
yes.
be an accessory to your crimes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. That is awesome.
Like, she loves me.
My mom.
You guys made much more memories.
Because my father didn't. I mean, that was a priority. I mean, it didn't matter what he did. He did just, I tell you how much it got. It got worse and worse and worse and worse. I was disinherited, and I'm very proud of that. But that's how much strife there was between me and my father. I never called him dad. It was my father,
Wow.
father figure.
That would suck.
TMZ is going to be calling you right after this. You know that.
Well, it was.
What is this about arson and your mom doing things together? What's happening? For Christ's sake, man, I thought we knew you.
He passed away, and I wasn't even in the will. I was disinherited. I mean, I wasn't in the will.
Yeah.
My sister was in it. This one, and I wasn't even mentioned. I had a call. How did the will go? Because I was on the West Coast, and I was broke actor by then, and they were on the East Coast. So I had to call my sister for the reading of the will. I didn't have money to fly there. So, how was the reading of the will? It went great. How did I do? Oh, you weren't in it at all. You were disinherited, she said. You weren't in it.
Great.
At all. Yeah, she just gave it to me straight. Yeah, you weren't in it at all. I said, well, who do you leave money to? Well, first of all, he said, she left it all. He left it all to me, my sister said. He left it all to my sister and a couple of our cousins. But here's the bottom line. One is I never remembered anything that my father ever did because we just didn't get along.
Click.
So when my sister said that I was disinherited, I was proud of my dad for making such a big move that I will always remember that. And I was, even when she said, no, you were disinherited, you weren't even in the will. I thought, wow, man, that's so cool. That's what I said. That's what I said, because Dad really made a major move from beyond the grave. I mean, that's even cooler. That's, he'd been dead for months.
It's cold. It's cold. It's cold for sure.
That's some polar bear toenail shit.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Man, sure. Yeah, but I've never held it against him. Never. Because it was a major move, something I could remember my dad for.
Well,
Because
honestly,
I don't remember anything you ever did.
that totally answers one of my questions, whether you had a charmed life or not. You definitely did not have a charmed life, for sure.
I did have a charm. I believe
Well,
I do.
it's charmed in a way, like as far as that's what I was going to ask you about. Like when
Oh,
you,
not in that way, but
Yeah,
I
not
had
that
lead
way.
a charmed life.
you know, now
I
that
really-
you've got so much and so much of a history, and so many fans like myself are attached to you and the spirit that you bring to these characters, there's no way you could have brought that much joy, probably without going through some of that pain. So, like, I appreciate you as a human being and be able to share that with us. Like, that's special. It's important to me. On
Oh, cool.
whenever you're ready, I would love to hear some of the, like, how you guys started. Like, I don't even know what your first show was. What's your favorite show? There's so many questions and I won't have enough time. I appreciate all the
Well,
bad you went through to give everyone all the good
oh.
you've given.
Well, I'm dyslexic. I have dyslexia. I've always had dyslexia. And I didn't know it because when I was a kid, dyslexia wasn't invented yet.
Right.
Nobody knew what that was. So there wasn't even a word called dyslexia when I was a kid. As I grew older, then, oh, dyslexia, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, that's what I had. Oh, no wonder. And then I went back to remember. I said, so that's why I was I was acting out, passive aggressive, blah, blah, blah. That's dyslexia right there on my wall. Those are my paintings.
Oh, great.
And I got an Academy Award nomination for a film short I did. That's dyslexia. That's, in other words, one side of my brain is really cool, and the other side is passive aggressive. It's da, 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 da. So it helped me a lot in showbiz. I mean, that's probably why I was out on the baseball mound. But everybody asks me about my show business stuff. So I've never talked about this stuff, so it's new to me and your reaction to
hell,
it. But,
you share whatever you want to.
No, I mean, that's it. That's my childhood. So we can talk about show business or whatever you want to talk about.
A lot of people can't handle that kind of depth, so I'm glad to be.
Oh no, to me it's cool. It's all cool.
Being an open book, it takes a hell of a lot more courage to be open than to lie to hide and be somebody fake. So I appreciate.
I just say it's dyslexia. I'm dyslexic, so ask me anything and I'll answer. Yeah, somebody. Wait a minute. Now wait a minute. A lot of people years ago, as I was growing up, they did say, Larry, you have no boundaries. They would say that because, I would say anything. I mean, a lot of times I got in trouble. I got beat up a lot for just saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, man. I've had guns to my head. I've had knives to my throat. So that's why I say I lead a charmed life, a very lucky life, because I got out of it. I'm here talking to you. Yeah. But the reason there was a knife to my throat and guns to my head was because I said the wrong thing at the wrong time. I had 2 knives to my throat and a gun to my head. So that's 3 times. And I got out of it. But while I was in it, it's terror, man. And I had to suss out, why was there a gun to my head? Why was he holding a knife to my throat? It's because I had no bounds and I just say what came into my head. I mean, a lot of comedians, stand-up comedians are like that, a lot. That's why I was pretty cool as a stand-up comedian.
I read about you doing that. And what I said, one of the lines that really hit me was, I have a photographic memory for laughs. I remember what made people laugh and I continue to use that. And that I never wrote any material before I went on stage.
Wow, man.
On stage and talk about my life and my day, which is super funny because when I did stand up, that's a lot of the shit that I did because real life is always going to be stranger than fiction. So I applaud you and I'm with you on that.
Wow, that's almost verbatim of what I said. That's incredible.
We do our research on the show. We do our research on the show. But man, I don't know what I'm doing.
But I just thought that was cool. I'm going to use that. Yeah, there you go.
I'm not surprised that you shared stuff with us that no one you've never showed before because it actually happens on the show a lot. Because we tend not to be the same show that asks the same questions because that gets boring. Who wants to do that? But what was your first start in show business? I mean,
what I found out? I just found out yesterday what my first role was. I
love it.
Oh, and I forgot the name of it. But here's where I found out, and so you can find out too. I looked me up on Wikipedia yesterday,
They know more than you do.
and it's pretty accurate except for my name.
Oh shit.
They spelled your name wrong.
No, they got my middle name wrong. I
Ah.
have Larry Michael Hankin. No, it's Larry Allen, Alan.
Mm.
But I thought it was kind of cool. Wikipedia, is famous for getting things wrong. I thought, well, if that's the only thing wrong, I kind of lucked
Yeah, but
out.
you,
man.
apparently you can
lucked out.
edit it. You can edit it
But
yourself.
they really did it a number. I mean, it's really long and obscure things that I'd forgotten I had ever done. Like this is the first thing. Okay, I'll tell you the first thing. Okay, the very first thing, they didn't have it on there, and I just reminded myself of it. It was a coffee house in Greenwich Village, and I was cleaning duck boards at night between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning in a bar in Greenwich Village. Graduated high school, went to Greenwich Village. And the first job I got, I auditioned for a musical comedy in a coffee house musical comedy. A coffee house maybe had like 50 seats or something or less. And the stage is very small, just very small. And I did a comedy sketch in it called Pass the Nuts. To answer your question, my first job was a coffee house musical, and it got me out of working the bar from 6 a.m. because I didn't want to leave the bar, but I had to for show business reasons. Because I didn't want to leave the bar because it was a bar and grill, and they used to lock me in when the chef went home at 2:30 in the morning, and they closed the bar. Let's call. So I would wait, and then the chef he was the last one to leave, and he would lock the door from the outside. Now I don't know why he did that. I never wanted to talk to the chef because he would let me out. He would come in at 6 a.m. He would open the door, and I would stand by the door, and I started to wear raincoats to work. I would go into work about 1 o'clock in the morning, wait for my time, and then they would close it. And what I would do after everybody left and I was locked in, I would go, and right before I left, I'd clean duck boards. I don't want to see any more peanut shells for the rest of my life. And I went into the kitchen and I stole food because I was starving.
TMZ.
Yeah.
TMZ, they'll be called.
So I like slabs of bacon, things I could put in the back, slabs, things that were long and thin, flat.
There's
I
the
would put in
raincoat
the back of
coming
my
in.
thing.
Yeah.
I'd put on my raincoat, and then I would steal anything flat to put in the pockets. And sometimes I would steal small cans so they wouldn't bulge in the raincoat. And where I got the idea was from Harpo Marx, Groucho and Harpo. Remember, he used to steal spoons and pop pop, and they would open it up and the spoons would all fall out. Well, that's where I got the idea. Hell, man, that's a cool idea. A
I'm
raincoat.
gonna tell you, as a chunky butt fat boy, if I'm hungry and there ain't no food I can afford, I'm gonna ask as much as I can ask. But when I feel like my ribs are touching my backbone, I'm gonna eat one way or other.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Now here's a
human being's life because I had something to eat.
Well, yeah, but here's a little guidance for you. I worked in the bar once I got hip to the fact that there was food in the kitchen and I had access to it, and I figured out the raincoat thing. So I'd been working there for a while before it all started to come together. But once I got the raincoat on and was dealing with slabs of bacon and small cans of sausages, I only stayed there for 2 weeks more, because the sooner or later the chef would see, wait a minute, there's stuff missing.
Inventory.
So I planned ahead. I'm pretty crafty and slick that way. I thought, I got to get out of here. I can't, don't overdo. Don't be greedy, Larry. Get out of here. So my roommate, who was Carl Gottlieb, who I went to Syracuse with, and we were roommates, Carl Gottlieb wrote Jaws, finally. So he was cool. So he was working on newspapers. So he had he had an income. So he was stealing food for me. So what he would do is, but his was okay, the way he was stealing. He wasn't stealing really, or I guess it was. But here's what happened. He would review movies for these very small papers in Greenwich Village. No big papers that you would know, neighborhood papers. But back in them days, all newspapers reviewed the same movie. In other words, the Times, Life magazine, the Post, whatever, and these small papers watched the same movie theater at the same time of the release of the movie. So they all reviewed it at the same time. But when they do that in those days, and I guess they still do, before you go in, the reviewers all had a little glass of wine, and they had the frozen shrimp, the cold shrimp bowls. Okay. So they fed them, and they gave them, a little liquor before they went in to review the movie, which Carl did. Now, you had to wear a suit in those days. Everything was very, very formal. So he wore a suit, goes to review the movies, and what he would do is they even had real linen napkins, not paper napkins in those days. I used to save them. What he did was he would take a linen napkin, put it in his hand, and then he would take a big handful of the cold shrimp, put it in there, wrap it up, put it in his pocket, and that was my dinner for me.
So you had shrimp pocket cocktail. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, and a guy to deliver it. My roommate, Carl, the writer of Jaws.
Garlic, you got a scampi when you get home. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So that went on for a while until I got a paying gig as a stand-up comedian. But he stopped after all. I said that ended too, not against my will in a way too. He one day, I guess it was about maybe a month and a half or two after he started doing this, and I was eating shrimp every night. Well, no, not every night. I mean, when he reviewed a movie, I would get shrimp. I knew that. And I would save the napkins. I would have the napkins all over. There was at least 30 or 40 napkins minimum around the apartment. And we would use them for rags, or I would just hang them. I just thought it was very funny. Anyway, when he stopped, he came up to me and he said, "All right, Larry, I can't do this anymore." And I thought maybe I'd get caught or something. I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "Because my suit smells of fish, man."
Nah.
I only have one suit.
I smell like a shrimp boat captain.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Okay. I can't pay for your suit to get cleaned every time. All right. I'll get a job. I'll get another job. So, yeah. So finally, what I was doing was, because before going into the bar to do the cleanup, I cleaned the duck boards behind the bar. I had to hang out the whole evening until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So I'd go to the coffee house. It's all in Greenwich Village. Everything was within 2 or 3 blocks of where our apartment was. I think it was like, my share was $75 a month. It was $150.
And what year is this? What year are you talking about?
This was 1961. 1961. Yeah. So I was a kid then. I was just about 18. I just graduated Syracuse. And so I would hang out at the coffee house and I was watching these comedians. You go up for 3 or 4 minutes. It was just comedians and folk singers. No women comedians, women folk singers. A lot of folk singers that were to become later on in life huge, like Bob Dylan. Nobody knew Bob Dylan. He was just this guy, another short guy with a 12-string. The 12-string was as big as he was. It was amazing. He would walk in with have you ever seen a 12-string carrying case? Yeah. They're huge, man. And he would walk in and, in the back, and he'd walk in with this 12-string.
My guitar is bigger than me.
And he would have this 12-string and a gaggle of 14-year-old and 15-year-old girls around him. He was about 16 or 17. and he would come in with
Were
them.
different back then, viewers. Calm
What?
down. Times
Yeah,
were
well, there's
only
a little
16.
news around him around that time. I mean,
Imagine
now.
Justin Bieber back in the day. Okay, move. Yeah, we got this.
Okay, so but there was also Peter, Paul, and Mary was there. Not as Peter, Paul, and Mary. There was just Peter, and there was Noel Stukey, and there was Mary. And Noel Stukey changed his name to Paul, just so it was Peter, Paul, and Mary. And there were a lot of famous people. A lot of I can't go. I don't remember them all.
No,
But later on, I mean, 10, 15 years later, boom! Oh wow, we were in coffee houses together. Yeah. So there was a lot of people like that in Greenwich Village. The Greenwich was filled with everybody who was famous. Well, in the late 60s, late 60s, early 70s, all those people were in Greenwich Village while I was there. So I would open for them. Jimi Hendrix. Was the thing I remember about Jimi Hendrix is right before he couldn't go on because he was over in the corner throwing up. That's what I remember about Jimi Hendrix. I mean, so that's how long ago it was and how young we all were. He wasn't Jimi Hendrix. He was just this pretty cool guitar player who was throwing up in a corner with girls rubbing his back, no guys. He was
holding his hair.
and combing his hair.
Light your guitar on fire later. Okay.
Get it out. Get it all out.
So yeah, it was great. I mean, that was my salad days in Greenwich Village, doing all those things. And I finally, who was it? Woody Allen. Woody Allen was there. I was opening for Woody Allen in the 60s. I mean, coffee houses, and then he went into Jim Paul Eiler's upstairs at the downstairs, and that's how I got my manager, Woody Allen's manager. Oh man, my memory is going. But yeah, Jack Rollins.
Did you ever work with Woody Allen?
Yeah, I opened for him.
I mean, did you ever work with him on a film or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
He was more shy than I was. Here's his ritual. I mean, when we were both professional and I was opening for him in nightclubs, his ritual was right before he went on, he went into the bathroom, he threw up, and then he came out and went on stage
He was
and
ready.
killed. But it was just, the irony of the two things. I said, they're introducing Woody. Where is he? And he's in the bathroom throwing up. You'd listen. Hey, Woody, you're on. Ooh, okay, okay. Boom. And he would go on. It was just amazing. I mean, now that you bring it, these are all, that's what was going on. Amazing. I'm amazed.
Did you always stay in New York, or did you go to Hollywood, or did you just pretty much stay
Well,
in?
once I became a professional comedian and I had Jack Rollins booking me, he booked me with Woody to break me in and get me known around. And then I was opening for stars. I was opening for Miles Davis, the Kingston Trio, just big stars. And I would open for them. And then I did the Playboy Club. I was on the Playboy television show on Hash. In those days, I didn't do drugs.
I remember one time I was on Hash.
Yeah, well, it's not
like 2 hours ago, man.
Yeah, no. What happened was this is in the early '60s, and I was booked on the Playboy Club. I was doing really great, opening for all these Playboy stars and stuff. And Hefner invited me on to the Playboy TV show. With the Smothers Brothers. Wow. Now, I didn't know this, but the Smothers Brothers were fans of mine. I don't know, they saw me in the Village or other people. I didn't know this until I got on the Hugh Hefner Playboy Club TV show. So I'm sitting on the couch with Tom and his brother or whatever, the Smothers Brothers, and Hugh and a couple of bunnies. And before going on in the green room, I invited all my friends, but I had never done drugs before. I was a late bloomer to drugs. So we're sitting in the green room and they say, hey, you want to get high? And I go, what do you mean? What do you have? Well, I did. Why? And they said, well, everybody gets high before they go on. And I thought, well, yeah, that's true. As far as I knew, that was like a rumor that, everybody gets high before they go on. So I thought, let me try that. So they said, what do you got? And I said, well, all we got is hash. So I said, okay, let's do some hash. So this is my first time. So I did, and I took a big, huge hit. And then they go, you're on. And they go, yay, go get him, Larry. So I just sat on the couch. So here's how I found out that Tommy Smothers was my fan.
Okay.
I'm sitting on the couch, and Hugh now gives me my cue. So ask him about da 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 da. Hugh had the cue card. So he says, hey Larry. They talk to Tommy and his brother, and then they go to me. So I just sat there quietly, and he goes, okay, Larry, and I go, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, well, and I try to explain my hunk, there's no comic timing. I was just going, yeah, well, I was doing this and then that. I was just talking it, like it was. And Tommy, that only went on for about 30 seconds, 25 seconds. I mean, you could tell this guy's fucked. He's high as hell. What is he, on heroin or something? Because Tommy immediately, and that's why I kind of found out, like, my mom loves me. Tommy's a fan. He says, Larry, tell him about the blah, blah, blah. He was giving me punchlines. He was feeding me. Like you knew my thing. He was saying, hey, Larry, tell him about, and Hugh was just, I looked at Hugh and he knew what was going on. This guy's fucking high as hell. And he was not happy. So Tommy, when he saw that, I just couldn't get it together. Tommy started doing my material. He just started doing my act for me. Oh, and wow. Hugh said, well, that's nice, Tommy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Larry. And then they cut the commercial and they got me out of it. And then the rest of my Playboy tour was canceled.
Wow.
Oh, so that ended and that was in the early days. I never, ever did drugs again.
So stay away from drugs, kids, or stay away from drugs.
Well, no, but here's the little, whatever you call it, the side. No, there are people who get high and do great. Musicians or stand-up comedians even. It doesn't matter. It's, if you can't do it, don't do it, man.
Kids, we're not advocating drugs. We're just prescribing them. So it's
yeah, I mean, I can't do drugs and perform. It's just for
you write you out a little note here. Go get yourself.
So I just want to tell you, but I also did that.
Okay. Well, that's that's a beautiful story, and you told it so well.
Oh no! I mean, I'm just talking. I'm not telling stories.
Oh, no, you are. You're telling stories.
Like
I'm just talking.
You're telling stories. It's happening. It's really happening.
Since I knew we were going to have you on our show, I've got to really be honest. In the house, we've been singing a song that definitely correlates with what I feel is one of your biggest roles that you've ever done. Was in Annie. And in my house for the last couple of days, my kids and my wife and everybody's dumb dog. We've been going through the whole thing with the Annie thing, and we cannot get past that. Like I just can't get past how many different shows and movies and everything. And oh my God, can you tell me what is a good memory you have? What is one of your favorite memories of Hollywood, where the character you played really meant something to you?
None of them.
None.
I mean, none of them really made anything. I mean, Old Joe is a good. Look, I'm into process and making my craft better, whatever it is. So I don't fall in love with these things. I try to do the best work I can. What you're talking about is my favorite memories of like Annie is the director. I was working with John Huston. Screw the dog catcher role. I was like hanging out with John Huston, man. I mean, in Escape from Alcatraz, is screw Charlie Butts. I was hanging out with Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel, one of the best directors ever. one of the biggest stars ever. I was trying to learn what that, I would follow them both around like a puppy, just trying to, you just be a sponge. I wasn't paying attention. And that's why Charlie Butts was so great. I didn't pay any attention to Charlie Butts at all. That's why I was so relaxed. That's why those guys are so great. They're totally relaxed, man. You don't know about their craft. They don't show any craft. They are. And that's what I was trying to be. So I would follow, I would eat lunch with them. I would, and they would put me on like crazy because I would follow them around. But the roles are secondary. I take roles because of who's directing it or the role, but not the character that I play. It's, wow, Old Joe is really great. It's well written. Vince Gilligan is a great writer and he's a great director. So, I followed him around like a puppy. I mean, so finally, he saw that, and they all see that. Clint knew what I was doing. Don Siegel knew what I was doing. Vince Gilligan knew what I was doing because he would call me over. He'd say, "Hey, Larry, come here." I go, "Yeah." He'd say, "You want to see my shooting script and my what do you call those? The pictures? You know, when they draw the pictures, they're
the dailies or the storyboards."
No, what? Yeah. What is that?
Storyboards.
Storyboard. So he says, "Hey, Larry, come here. You want to see my storyboard book?" I didn't ask him for a storyboard book. I didn't even know he was paying any attention to me. I go, "Yeah." He says, he calls over. He says, "Show Larry my storyboard book." So he shows me. I mean, something that no director is. That's private. That's how he thinks. So I went through it. It's about that thick. It was a loose leaf binder. And I'm going through it, and there's this, his writing and where the camera is, the angle, the POV, and where the other angle. It blew my mind. He did that. I said, that was a great honor for me. So, I don't know. I truly believe that I don't know, that nobody knows where I'm really at. It's like back in public school. I mean, when I go to a show, I'm thinking about 10 other things that I guess nobody else is, because the stories of my roles are a sidebar to what I was doing on the set. I'm on the set. I'm watching Larry David direct or tell Michael Richards what to do to make the scene funnier. I'm not paying attention to Tom Pepper. I'm a student. I'm a total student.
I find that fascinating because really you're looking at it like school. Like, this is a time for me to learn. Time for me to.
This is better than UCLA film school. That's because I am a stand-up comedian. I am a funny guy. I won 2 times in high school. That's it. The rest is, how can you get better? Because I did it in high school. I won 2 in a row. What more do you want?
Right?
The guy's funny. Okay, now I got to learn how to do it better. So I watch stand-up comedians, how they deliver their lines, the writing. I'll read the screenplay. What's the arc of the character? Process.
You just brought up a word, character, and it's the one thing that I have left to touch on, and then Stephen can ask any questions, and you guys can sum it up, and people can find you. But there's one thing that I really want to touch on, and it's because of how long you've developed this character. I want to know about Emmett.
There you go.
I want to know, because in my mind, when I was thinking about it and really analyzing, there's no way, I mean, not that you fall in love with the character, but there's no way you can spend that much time developing a character and somehow it not become maybe part of you or just almost larger than life, man. So please let me.
Well, that's a very direct question. And that is probably one of the only few through lines of my career. My artistic life is, and my sister pointed this out to me. because a lot of the things I do are subconscious. And that's why they say, well, you have no boundaries, Larry. It just comes out. I don't hold it back. In 1976, I discovered something. And I know because I made a drawing with the date on it, and it was 1976. And this drawing is what I'm talking about. I was watching television. I was at home watching television, and I noticed one thing. I was watching a sitcom, and I said, the wife in the sitcom, it was a mom, dad, family sitcom. I think it was black and white, because that's how long ago it was. And I noticed that the woman who played the wife was a famous movie star when I was growing up. And I looked down on television sitcoms as opposed to movies, being a movie actor. So I thought, what is she doing? She was it was like Lucille Ball. It wasn't Lucille Ball, but it was like that. She was a famous movie actor, and she became she defined the role of housewife in a sitcom. But other things. So I said, what happened? Why is that? Why is she being in a sitcom when she was such a great actress, this other actress? And I came to the conclusion, as I started to watch other sitcoms to check this out, I saw that, oh my God, she's over 35. And in those days, in the 60s, if you were over 35 and you were an actress, a movie actress, you were assigned to television. You became sitcom moms. That's where you went. The death of art for females was sitcom moms. And I thought, well, wow, that is, and the actresses were complaining about it. I mean, it was an open secret that after 35, you can't get work in films anymore if you were a woman. And then I said, well, what happens to guys? So I started to do the same thing for guys. And I found out, oh, wow, after 45 to 50, all the stars that were movie stars became sitcom dads. I go, oh, wow, man. This is 1976 when I discovered the guys part. And I said, that's not going to happen to me. I will not let that happen to me. So I made a drawing of what I wanted to be when I was 70. And I made a drawing. So I was a good drawer. So I did it very accurately. And what it was a biker, a 70-year-old biker with a helmet, beard. It was me. I did a good drawing of me, but old. And he had biker mufti on, the jacket and whatever. And he was on a motorcycle. He was sitting on a motorcycle. I think he had his hat off in his hand, and he was just staring out, like at the camera or the viewer. But it was an old guy, and I dated it. It said L. Hankin, 1976. I don't know what happened to that drawing, but my sister kept it. That's what happened to it. She collects things, so she collected that. And a couple of years after 1976, maybe in 1985, she sent it to me. And I go, wow. And I remember what I was thinking when I drew that, about the 45, 50, and that's where I was going. I was like 45, 50. And I go, yeah, okay. So that's how I invented. I said, his name is Emmett, and I'm going to start making films about him. And so when I did Escape from Alcatraz, which was in, I don't know what the date was, 1980, I think.
Sounds about right.
I took the money. It was more money than I'd ever made. I was 3 months on that film. I think I'd made, I don't know, thousands, somewhere above $30,000. And I, was poor up until then, so I saved all that money. So I had a lot of that money. So I bought a secondhand car, paid off all my debts, and with the rest of it, which I had, it's about $5,000 to $10,000 left, I made a movie called The Outlaw Emmett Demas. And I said, that's where I want to go when I'm 70. And it started way back when I discovered the sitcom dad syndrome. And that's where Emmett came from. And I kept on making movies. Now I and as the money came in, I would make a movie about Emmett. If I didn't have any money, I'd make a 1-minute short, or I'd do it on my cell phone, or And if I got a lot of money, I would make a big movie. And he got an Academy Award nomination. Oh no, that was just Sometimes Jones. That was a Sally's Diner. But that was in the early 60s. But I knew then that Sometimes Jones was the chrysalis of Emmett. It was a young Emmett. I did that when I was 33. And I knew then that if Emmett was 33, what would he be? And I said, he'd be homeless. And so I wrote that, and it got an Academy Award nomination. So Emmett features big in my in my mind. He is what I'm all about. It's my mind making my films.
Yeah.
And I still do it.
That's
whenever
awesome.
I get a lot of money, I just go out and make an Emmett film.
Well, thank you for sharing all the personal everything. I just can't tell you that you've shared a different side of yourself, and I really appreciate you being open with us.
Oh, cool, man. I don't know that I'm open. I'm just talking.
But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people.
I don't know what other people do. I just.
Right? Hey, that's a good point. Screw them, Angus.
Yeah. Who needs them?
But I do know, I am aware, because that nowadays, if you want to be a stand-up comedian or you want to make a movie about yourself, or personal movie or whatever, and you want to be famous, it's got to come from deep within you. It's got to be personal. That's what's going on now. Back then, no, nobody wanted to be. It was sitcom moms and dads. Not real. Norman Rockwell. It was Norman Rockwell.
Right.
You had to be Norman Rockwell.
Right.
And movies were Norman Rockwell.
Right.
And Norman Rockwell is the worst thing that ever happened to this country.
Right.
Because everybody thinks that's how America is. And it isn't anything like that.
The American
it's the underside. But Norman Rockwell was what was going on when I grew up. And I just hated it, man. But I didn't know how to deal with it. Nobody did.
No, it's true. That's crazy. Where can people find you? If they wanted to find Larry, where can they find you?
Santa Monica.
Do you have a website? Do you have a Instagram,
the
Facebook?
reallarryhankin.com. All my paintings are on there, and all my paintings, got 40 paintings. They're prints, really.
And they're for sale?
The reallarryhankin.com. And all my paintings are on there, and all my paintings are on T-shirts. So you can get T-shirts of these, and all the other, T-shirts that are on there. And my biography's on there, and my films are on there. My films, not the films that you see me in, but the films that I made with my own money, and I wrote them. Yeah, and so yeah, you go there. There's, I think somebody is making. Have you ever heard of Patreon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not into that stuff, but they're doing doing a Patreon website or a Patreon station for Larry Hankin, and my podcasts, my interviews. I did 8 interviews of an hour each, so 8-hour interviews with an interlocutor and an interviewer, 1 hour each, just like you guys, but it was one guy who wanted to do it every Saturday for like 8 weeks. Just interview me. Just interview me. Ask me stuff, and I'll just talk. So Patreon is going to do that. Check it out, Larry Hankin, the Larry Hankin Patreon station. It's I think it's going to open this week or next week, or I don't know.
There'll be a link.
So those are the two things.
We're going to put a link and all the stuff on the screen as it comes across.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
It's like
but the
magic.
real Larry Hankin is, and then the Facebook, you can, look at it. I'm putting up these paintings now on my Facebook page, but those are the 3 things.
As you should.
Very cool.
As you should. That's awesome. Well, Larry, it's been an amazing time.
I guess, I hope so.
Well,
I hope so.
I mean, it's been amazing for us. You were probably bored out of your mind, but
No. I was interested in telling these stories. I haven't talked about them, so I was interested. It was interesting for me.
we love that.
Absolutely love it. Oh, I can't tell you thanks enough, but just like you said, Then we'll be back in touch soon enough. People,
Cool, man. One more thing. I'm writing a book
Ooh.
about my show business history, and it has my childhood in it too. So I'm involved in that now. So when I get the book ready, I'll get in touch with you guys and we can talk about the book.
There has to be a chapter about arson in there. Don't forget.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And my father. I got to talk about my father. He was a one-off, man.
Oh yeah,
broke the mold when they.
I'm sure.
They made it.
I'm sure.
And then we threw the mold on the ground and smashed the shit out of it.
I guess no. I have
You're like, "That's enough of that."
have no animosity towards the man now. I mean, it was over when he did that. When he disinherited me. I said, "Wow, man, cool dad." How many dads do that? None
Right.
that I know of. That's
Not too many.
amazing.
Not too many. No.
So I got okay, Dad.
You did it, Larry. Achievement unlocked.
Right? Level 1 million. Love you 3000. Look, guys, another episode of VO in Stereo. Thank you so much for coming. This was a really awesome episode. Join us next time for the next thing. Oh, Larry, you're amazing. Till next time, guys. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye.